Yeah, I'll take this opportunity to just plug the event a little bit more, just because I was appointed as a finance chair as soon as Adrian got elected. So you can imagine, you know, we've been kind of personally investing behind a lot of the efforts down in the valley, and it's tough, right? Because think about the dynamic that where we live is, like Adrian mentioned, every single elected official, therefore, you know, those relationships lead into the business guys in the valley, and nobody wants to donate to the Republican troublemakers, we'll call them, that are disrupting the Democrat establishment, right? And so it's been hard as a party to get the funds from the business community, typically the bankers, the chamber types, right? They don't want to cut a check to us locally because the backlash that they're going to get from the local reps and congressmen, right? So what I've done as a finance chair is that I've had to reach outside of the valley for money. And Doug Deason, who's a big activist in the Dallas area, I'm sure if y'all know who Doug is, very well funded, I guess, family, and they're starting to buy into my pitch. And my argument to a lot of the statewide power brokers has been, okay, the valley's not a winnable district yet, right? It's not one of those 6 districts that we're protecting as Texas House, you know, is in jeopardy. We're an emerging market, right? So I'm telling them, let's take a little bit of that money and that funding and put it down in the valley, because it's the heart of the Democrats, right? It's where the state party chairman lives in our county. So the strategy of Alan West is, as a military, you know, mindset, is buying into that argument that, hey, maybe it's not winnable, but it doesn't mean you don't allocate any resources down there, because this is the heart of where somebody mentioned those states or those counties along the border that are all Bethel. Well, why aren't we putting a little bit of funding in there, right? I know it's not maybe top of the most winnable, you know, districts, but that's been my pitch as a finance chair to a lot of folks since Adrian first got elected, and it's starting to catch on because Alan West is buying into it. You have Dallas billionaires buying into it, and they're understanding that, hey, if you guys don't support what we're doing down there, and as Hispanics and conservatives, you know, I went to Baylor University. I've been a Baptist my whole life. You know, twice on Sundays and every Wednesday with mom, you know, front row. So there aren't too many of us out there, but we're starting to find a voice, like Adrian has said, and we're not an outlier. We're everywhere, just nobody's been able to talk to us. Ms. Garcia was right on, right? The messaging hasn't been right. We're not, you know, part of the biggest thing is to show up and talk, and most times the Hispanic vote gets taken for granted, and they don't want to hear about all these issues, the Middle East stuff. It's way out there, right? You got to focus on the bread and butter kind of issues that we heard earlier, and just talk to Hispanics and let them know the difference, because most of the time it's lack of knowing the issues that keeps them away and keeps them voting Democrats. So I know this wasn't about me, but I just wanted to say a few words. Thank you. Maria. Go ahead. I got questions too now.
Yeah. Okay, my name's Judy Neal. I'm from Plano.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a transplant from California, and I know one of the things that we did to bump up registration is we got our churches involved.
Absolutely.
With the attacks that are going on with Christian beliefs and church and religion, have you reached out to local churches to do registration on Sunday mornings, Sunday services? I went to a church in California where we had 3 services a day, and I worked that desk outside on the courtyard all 3 services, and we picked up 1,200 a week in registrations.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a weird strategy. I think that's been implemented throughout the state. I mean, obviously, you know, churches have their own politics as well, so some folks are for it, some aren't. But I've seen in the valley, at least, a lot more pastors willing to organize. We had a group the other day, they wanted to organize and get on the Trump train and do a prayer train. And so the pastors want to come in, kind of organize now, and really get involved. I mean, President Trump's doing something.
Those pastors that are showing up at your events.
Yeah, they're starting to show up now, and the Trump train is really what's kind of, look guys, I know you touched on it briefly, but what Trump is doing down in the Rio Grande Valley, I mean, Breitbart just wrote the story, 7,000 cars, 15 miles long in Laredo, which isn't, still border town, close to us, but you don't see that in these blue counties that Beto carried by a huge margin. I mean, this stuff is happening in these counties, and that's what's, I think, got everyone excited, that finally the messaging and the rhetoric of Hispanic Republicans is starting. Trump, for some reason, is just activating these guys and just getting everybody excited about it. And so it's things are moving. The needle is definitely moving in our area. And I think that's part of our big message here to you guys tonight, is that there's light at the end of the tunnel for Hispanics across the state as the demographics move. And we're a minority majority state here pretty soon. I'm part of also Hispanic Republicans of Texas, which is another pack. And I'm also really involved, like Adrian, in like 5 or 6 different state boards and stuff like that, right? So it's starting to trend, right? Hispanics coming over and understanding and being okay with calling themselves Republican, that racist stigma is going away. I know that for a lot of the non-Hispanics, they've always thought, well, how do we do it? And it involves the messaging, right? Like Ms. Garcia said, like it's me showing up to talk to them about their taxes. It's not just talking points that they're hearing on TV or on radio. So we have to show up, we gotta knock on the doors, get into the marginalized areas like you said, because they're vulnerable and they're looking for a way out. And once you talk to them about growth, opportunity, and prosperity, they're like, oh, really? I had no idea. And so I come in, I mean, you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much. I had a question also. I know that the Democrats are pouring millions of dollars, and I don't know if Monica is one of the ones that, you know, I think her opponent, they're helping her with millions of dollars. And I guess what I want you to do is expand a little bit more of what you're trying to pitch to Alan West and some of those people, because it's a little difficult to buy into the fact that the Democrats are pouring millions of dollars, and obviously your candidates don't have half as much, and this is a marginalized area. I mean, they can easily win. So I just wanted you to expand a little bit about the message that you're trying to sell them.
Yeah, well, the message is basically that invest in opportunities across the state that are trending, because what's happening in our district, we just want to recruit better candidates to put on a better campaign, and therefore the talent level keeps increasing every cycle the closer we're moving the needle. So if we don't move the needle, then people are just, well, I'm not going to run, you know, they got killed. So Monica's doing a great job. She's the best candidate that district has had, and all of a sudden people are paying attention, right? And you're getting better and better candidates putting their name on the ballot, because it's very discouraging putting yourself on a ballot in a place where you're losing 70-30, right? It's like, how am I going to do it? And without money, right? So what's it going to take? It's going to take a rich guy that can self-fund, that believes, but we got to get a little bit closer so there's that actual chance, because the analytical thinker and a well-funded individual won't put their name on the ballot until they feel like they really have a chance to win, right? That's why I encourage for every dollar that you can give to us, our ROI is a lot, because she's talking about kind of the cost of labor down in the valley, right? So, you know, it's not, they're free, but you still want to buy pizza and drink, you know, after you're done block walking, or you still need bottled water. Well, for us, we need that, right? And I think everybody needs that, right? People still want to like have dinner afterwards and. Right. Yeah, so it's funding, right? Obviously it's funding. Everyone here that talked about their issue is looking for funding. My argument has always been that down in the valley we can do a lot more. We just need some pizza money. We don't need a huge, you know, check. It just help us buy some pizzas, and that's how we're recruiting.
It's a great strategy. I think that the state RPT, they want to come in when you're ready to prove yourselves. Then it's too late because you already did all the work on that. But really, it is a process of growing it slowly and nurturing this baby and pretty soon it's going to grow up and be a great leader.
Well, and the timeline, and that's great that you touch on that, because really the timeline that we're talking about here, from Adrian's dad switching parties in 2010, it's a 10-year timeline before we've gotten to where we're at now. So this is a slow process, unless you have, like I said, people that are willing to stroke big checks and really believe in what you're trying to do. And
What
so
we're talking about now is capitalizing on potential,
Yeah.
on the fervor that's been created.
it's the bench. We need to develop a bench of Hispanic Republicans that are going to be running in the next 10 years in the state of Texas. And that's where it is really. It's
also-
developing the bench.
It's also exposing the congressmen, exposing the state rep, where they voted against saving the baby after an abortion. I mean, exposing how they attack law enforcement. I think we need to do a better job too on investing money on.
Yeah, that goes to your question a little bit for sure, is that how do you recruit down in our neck of the woods, right, in the valley? And a lot of it has to do with that, because there's a lot of Democrats that have ended up in jail, sheriffs, judges, and so they're kind of giving us a layup, right? Like, here it is, like, our guys are getting in trouble, and now police, they're rioting, so they're giving us layups for talking points to be able to go out there and convert, especially the low-hanging fruit, which is the conservative Democrats. We don't want to really fight with them because you want to kind of bring them over, right? And so it's a weird strategy where before it's just like them against us. We're trying to say, hey, well, come on over and kind of see what we're doing. We have opportunities. Like Adrian talked about, you volunteer at the GOP, then you get put on the map and people know who you are, and then maybe you get a job opportunity at the bank. And so that's kind of the model that's worked. I believe as a finance chair and a more business-minded guy that if we become an economic development opportunity for folks in the valley, they'll switch over to the GOP, because that's just, I have a chance to get a job, to get on the radar, to get on Facebook and 20,000 people see me. And that's what's been helping us bring more and more people to the party, is that all of a sudden you volunteer, you go you knock on doors, and people are calling you because they don't want you to do that, so they'll hire you and take you away from it.
Exactly.
Or, yeah, and so the model that's worked since Adrian's been elected has been is that if you get involved and you spend some free time with us, eventually people will hate you for it and take you away and give you a job, right, in one way, or, I mean, it's the truth, right, and so they don't want you helping the local Republican Party, so they'll give you an opportunity to pull you away from it, which at the end of the day, I tell you, it's not bad, just bring more folks, and people are seeing that, especially the young women that she's recruiting, they're seeing like, wow, I volunteered, I walked one election cycle for one candidate, and all of a sudden people don't want me. If they're good, and they're persistent, and they're knocking on doors, right, because you have different volunteers that, some try more, and some they give it everything they got. It's kind of a testing ground for them to be able to get plugged in and therefore get a better opportunity. So that's really what's helped us in the valley, and I don't want to take up a lot of time.
One of the big elements that the whole party in the state of Texas and across the whole country needs to focus on is the young people.
Absolutely.
In the universities, we need young Republicans. We need them to start to learn, be educated in high school and in college, because we're getting fed a line of crap by the Democrats, the liberal professors and the teachers. Teachers are great. And even at the university level, 90% of the professors are Democrats, and they're feeding that liberal point of view. There's no diversity of ideas at all in universities anymore. They're getting shouted down and penalized because of their own conservative views, the ones that have it. So we've got to get the young people involved.
Absolutely.
They will grow into, they have to be an essential part of the long-term growth plan to develop a very, more robust organization and political outcome.
Absolutely, and that's what Adrian and her brother did when her dad switched parties. They started at the young Republican level. And that's why statewide, the young Republican, get this, the Hidalgo County Young Republican social media page is the largest page in the whole country, even including GOP. They got close to 30,000 people following a Young Republican page. So imagine, I don't know what your GOP pages have, but they grew that, and they started with 2 people. And so this is what I'm trying to pitch to folks and say, hey, these kids can do a good job, but you got to get them at the YR level, develop it, and then there's a YR right there.
Yeah. So I just want to speak to that. Jimmy and Adrian are very humble, but if you look at their numbers, like Adrian was head of Hidalgo YRs, they were at 600 members in their organization for young Republicans. These guys know how to build a business, they know how to build a party, they've been doing it over and over. And like, Jimmy's a great guy, and Adrian's a great woman. They're both very humble in their success. But these guys have led the fight every step of the way. I've been down there at Hidalgo to see what they've been doing. These guys don't quit, they don't have any quit in them whatsoever. And they're just out there every step of the way, every single day, doing everything they can. I mean, if you guys moved here, I think we'd be better off.
No, that's real important because Adrian, I mean, I want to just kind of give her the last kind of pep because, I mean, she volunteers and she doesn't need to be doing this, right? We live a very comfortable life, very successful business, family business. She doesn't need to be doing this. And when it takes a leader like her that could be at home and we'd be vacationing every weekend and she's out there block walking, like seriously, like I don't like block walking, right? But she's out there, and so I think she's a great leader, Chris, and the success has been like people are freaking out because you have somebody that's a very well-to-do individual volunteering her time to be out there in the hot sun and dealing with the volunteers and everyone and coordinating. It's, you know, she's really done a great job, and I think that's why statewide people are realizing, what are y'all doing? Well, she just has a lot of passion. And it comes from switching parties and walking away and getting hammered for it, and now we're fighting back and saying, no, we're gonna take advantage, and like they say at church, we're gonna take our mess and make it a message. So,
Can I ask about the 30th? What time is that going to be held, and are there flights that go down and back as opposed to buses?
yeah, there's flights. American Airline, you can hop on right now. It's cheap, like $100. You can go down there. It's September 30th. Doug Deason right now is our key speaker, but he's trying to get us some other national speakers down there. It was important for me to get a speaker like Doug from Dallas that's showing commitment to coming down, and I think some other statewiders now want to come.
Kevin West do that.
He might. I mean, the window's so short now. There's so many events because the election's about to happen that everyone's committed. But
It was raining, and then Tasha came out here and stormed and all that.
I want to give Adrian one last thing to say before we wrap this up.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thanks for staying this long. And if there's ever anything that we can do to help you guys, please let us know. Thank you.